Browns quarterback. Meltdown, Dillon Gabriel erupts at Shedeur Sanders in explosive practice confrontation. Cleveland Browns quarterback Dillon Gabriel completely unraveled, launching into a volatile tirade against fifth-round breakout sensation Shedeur Sanders. And he did it in front of teammates, coaches, and stunned media personnel. This wasn't just another moment of competitive friction. This was a full-scale psychological collapse. For fans who crave unfiltered, behind-the-scenes drama that doesn't make the press conference highlight reel, this incident was pure cinematic chaos. And if you've been following Cleveland's ongoing quarterback saga since the owner's controversial draft night remarks, then you already know things just got real. The eruption reportedly ignited during high-pressure red zone 7-on-7 drills. According to multiple sources with direct knowledge, Gabriel's frustration had been simmering all day. His passes sailed wide, his reads arrived late, and his mechanics crumbled under pressure. Meanwhile, Sanders was slicing up the defense with surgical precision, connecting effortlessly with receivers, exuding a poise that defied his rookie status. Then came the boiling point. Gabriel took another rep, misread the coverage, and airmailed a throw so badly it landed in the arms of a waiting defensive back. The sideline broke into chuckles, not to mock, but because the misfire was that egregious. And that's when Gabriel snapped. Fully, visibly, irreparably. Let's be clear. According to insiders, this wasn't a random explosion. It was the inevitable detonation of a confidence eroded by weeks of regression, overshadowed potential, and mounting internal pressure. Gabriel, the highly touted Oklahoma transfer, expected a steady development arc, fair reps, and the inside track to the starting job. Instead, he watched the spotlight and the locker room shift toward a late-round rookie who refused to play by anyone else's script. Though Gabriel had been grinding in silence, obsessing over film, showing up early, saying the right things, Tuesday was the day the facade collapsed. Witnesses say Gabriel spun around, rage etched into his face, voice erupting far beyond any acceptable professional tone. "He doesn't deserve those reps," Gabriel allegedly screamed, helmet still strapped, finger stabbing the air toward Sanders. "This is still my team." A deafening silence fell. Players froze. Coaches exchanged tense glances. Reporters scrambled for record buttons. Moments like this don't just go viral, they reshape careers. And then came the moment. Sanders, maintaining unshakable composure, calmly removed his helmet. No retaliation, no escalation. Just quiet dominance radiating from a fifth-rounder now standing in a defining spotlight. Without raising his voice or flinching under pressure, Sanders reportedly replied, "Leaders don't whine when they're losing. They grind harder." The sideline erupted, not in chaos, but in spontaneous respect. Receivers clapped, running backs joined in. Defensive players, even the normally reserved linemen, showed approval. Coaches stood frozen, processing what had just happened. Gabriel's face shifted. Rage dissolved into realization. His alpha bluff had backfired catastrophically. Then came the final blow. Gabriel tore off his helmet, hurled it violently toward the sideline, and stormed off the field, ignoring his coaches, saying nothing. The message was clear. He'd lost the battle, the moment, and possibly the locker room. Sources say he bypassed the entire staff and vanished into the facility. Meanwhile, practice resumed, without him. This wasn't just a quarterback clash. It was a cultural pivot point, a seismic shift in the Browns' identity. Teammates instantly felt it. One veteran receiver reportedly said, "That's when we chose our quarterback." A defensive captain added, "We've been waiting for someone to step up like that." Even members of the coaching staff, while publicly diplomatic, privately acknowledged that the torch had been passed. But to truly grasp this moment, we need to unpack the deeper layers. Gabriel's breakdown wasn't just about competition. It was about disillusionment. Poor showings throughout camp, sluggish processing under disguised coverage, cracks in leadership as the veterans naturally gravitated towards Sanders' magnetic energy. The third-round pick found himself increasingly isolated, not because of malice, but because of momentum. And Sanders, he didn't demand respect. He earned it. First in, last out, extra reps with receivers, additional sessions with linemen to master protection calls, film study that went long past the lights going out. He wasn't just competing, he was ascending. While Gabriel remained fixated on defending his status, Sanders focused solely on earning his moment. The contrast became painfully clear. One quarterback clinging to rank, the other rising through readiness. Tuesday's confrontation didn't create this dynamic. It simply exposed it. What unfolded wasn't a petty outburst. It was a psychological revelation. Gabriel embodies the traditional prototype, a multi-year collegiate starter who anticipated a gradual NFL immersion, structured development, and earned leadership. His preparation was disciplined but inflexible, his leadership style commanding yet contrived. But when the landscape shifted, he couldn't adapt. His mental footing crumbled, and under the weight of internal pressure, his emotional dam ruptured publicly and dramatically. Shedeur, by contrast, reflects the modern archetype, raised in the crucible of legacy, sharpened by scrutiny, and mentally calibrated for spotlight intensity. Confidence flows from him organically. Leadership emanates through quiet action, not proclamations. And during the heat of Tuesday's eruption, he displayed something that separates good quarterbacks from future franchise leaders: emotional intelligence. While Gabriel screamed for relevance, Sanders diffused chaos with a calm, unshakable response. That singular moment may have sealed Cleveland's quarterback destiny. But don't mistake this for a clean resolution. The aftermath will be turbulent. Following the humiliation, Gabriel's agent reportedly contacted Browns management within hours, exploring options. Code for potential trade discussions already in motion. His standing within the organization now feels untenable. How does a third-round selection return after such a public collapse? How does a coaching staff rebuild trust in a fractured quarterback room? There are no simple answers. Head coach Kevin Stefanski now faces an unenviable dilemma. His preference for Gabriel was no secret, but Tuesday's meltdown obliterated plausible deniability. The locker room already voted with spontaneous applause and sideline solidarity. Veteran players publicly chose their captain. Continuing to invest in Gabriel risks alienating the team entirely. But pulling the plug on a third-round pick this early sets a dangerous precedent. There's no clean outcome, only levels of risk. Ownership adds another layer of intrigue. Jimmy Haslam's infamous draft night comments now seem visionary, not impulsive. His instinct, once ridiculed, was validated by Gabriel's implosion. And yet, the very organizational chaos that enabled this explosion began at the top. Without that interference, perhaps the competition would have played out in conventional fashion. Perhaps Gabriel grows slowly, perhaps Sanders waits. But the accelerated timeline, the blinding spotlight, the invisible favoritism, all of it created a ticking time bomb. And now it's gone off, with consequences that could reshape the Browns' future. Preseason approaches fast. Depth chart decisions loom like storm clouds. Media scrutiny is about to reach a fever pitch. Every practice rep will be dissected. Every glance between quarterbacks will be headline material. What this franchise desperately needed was stability, and instead they now wade through self-inflicted chaos. Division rivals are already taking notes, eyes wide at a golden opportunity born from Cleveland's implosion, and within the building, momentum continues to crystallize. Offensive linemen reportedly approached Sanders after practice, affirming his role directly. "That's our quarterback," the center declared. Receivers huddled around him, recognizing a void had finally been filled. Even defenders, usually distant from offensive politics, understood the moment was bigger than position battles. It was about establishing identity. Gabriel's defenders, a dwindling minority, cite context. They argue he was placed in an impossible situation. That ownership's bias tilted the playing field. That media fixation on Sanders created unfair expectations. But after Tuesday, those arguments ring hollow. NFL quarterbacks face pressure constantly. Leaders rise through adversity. Excuses don't survive meltdowns. And Gabriel's response exposed something deeper, a crack in the foundation. His statistical regression had already raised concerns. Completion percentage nosediving, decision-making slowing, mechanics disintegrating. Meanwhile, Shedeur's trajectory was unmistakable. Accuracy climbing, playbook mastery increasing, chemistry with receivers developing organically. The physical tools, comparable, but uninspiring on Gabriel's end. Solid arm, decent mobility, acceptable accuracy, nothing elite. Shedeur, however, flashed elite traits: lightning-quick release, pinpoint placement, deceptive agility. But more importantly, intangibles that shift locker rooms and win seasons. Tuesday wasn't about arm strength. It was about composure under siege. One man imploded. Cleveland Browns quarterback crisis. How one practice sparked a franchise. Wide reckoning agents are already advising clients on potential landing spots. National reporters are activating deep sources, preparing feature-length exposés. Social media is ablaze. An entire NFL ecosystem has ignited, all from one seismic confrontation on a training camp practice field. Moments like this don't just alter depth charts, they redefine legacies. They cement or destroy careers. And for head coach Kevin Stefanski, this is the crucible. His leadership, his credibility, and perhaps his tenure now hinge on navigating an unwinnable dilemma. Backing Dillon Gabriel could sever the locker room permanently. Pivoting toward Shedeur Sanders contradicts Stefanski's widely known preferences. According to insiders, the coach immediately convened an emergency staff meeting following the incident. There's no luxury of time. Camp marches on. Preseason looms, and the front office is already feeling the tremors. GM Andrew Berry's draft strategy is now under siege. He traded valuable assets to secure Gabriel, a calculated risk that now looks like a spectacular implosion. Front office missteps are forgivable, but public collapses rarely are. Berry's future may be tied directly to how this mess is cleaned up. Inside the building, player sentiment has shifted irreversibly. Veterans who once stayed neutral are now voicing their support for Sanders. Younger players are galvanized by newfound leadership. Practice intensity has spiked. Competition has sharpened across every unit. What Shedeur ignited in that moment transcended quarterbacking. It sent a voltage through the entire roster. The media blitz came instantly. National cameras have descended. Local reporters are working phones like never before. Social platforms are amplifying the drama, and the narrative is spreading like wildfire. Gabriel is trending downward. Sanders is skyrocketing. All of this just as Cleveland desperately craved stability. Pressure has arrived in force, but pressure is the great revealer. It exposes the cracks or reveals the diamonds. So what now? Gabriel's representatives are working quietly behind the scenes. A trade market may be tentatively forming, though leverage is minimal. After Tuesday's collapse, his return to the field, let alone the facility, feels implausible. How does a man re-enter a locker room after being so thoroughly unmasked? He can't. And while pride may prevent his return, professional sports demand a baseline of dignity. Gabriel lost his footing, lost the room, lost the moment. Meanwhile, Sanders remains unchanged. He showed up early Wednesday, attended film review, worked with receivers, adjusted protection calls, no interviews, no victory laps, just quiet, consistent preparation. And that, more than anything, has resonated throughout the building. Players recognize real leadership. Coaches respect unwavering professionalism. Even members of the media, cynical by nature, have taken notice. Now the franchise sits at a crossroads. Repeat the cycles of dysfunction that have plagued Cleveland for decades, or embrace the organic emergence of a new leader, one who demands excellence immediately, not down the road. Shedeur Sanders doesn't fit the mold of Cleveland's past quarterback projects. He's not a rebuild. He's not a rehab. He's a ready-made leader with gravity. And that's uncomfortable, because real growth always is. Think bigger. Think Montana over DeBerg, Brady over Bledsoe, Prescott over Romo. These weren't orchestrated takeovers. These were crisis-born coronations. Tuesday in Cleveland may prove to be that very inflection point. Gabriel attempted to assert dominance with volume and aggression. Sanders countered with wisdom and grace. The contrast was jarring. The result was absolute. The quarterback competition didn't end on a coach's clipboard, it ended in a collective heartbeat. The locker room declared its leader, and Carmi, swift and spectacular, delivered justice in real time. Gabriel's insecurities were laid bare. His leadership unraveled. His composure collapsed. Sanders? He embodied every intangible franchises crave. Poise, emotional maturity, magnetic presence, and a focus that never flinched. The image is crystal clear now. A third-round pick exposed and diminished, while a fifth-round phenom rose unstoppably. This isn't just a training camp story, it's a leadership case study. It's about how true captains emerge not from entitlement, but from excellence under fire. Gabriel broke. Sanders blossomed. The quarterback room transformed instantly. The entire organization shifted. This kind of moment, raw, human, irreversible, forges dynasties or dissolves potential. And now comes the inevitable conclusion. Gabriel's tenure is all but over. Trade talks are expected. Return value will be minimal. The locker room has made its peace. Sanders is extraordinary. Something unprecedented is unfolding at Browns training camp. A revelation no analyst foresaw, a disruption to every tenet of traditional quarterback development. Rookie signal caller Shedeur Sanders isn't merely contending for a roster spot. He's obliterating every preconceived framework surrounding experience, readiness, and growth trajectories. 9 practices complete. 9 days of eye-popping dominance. His statistical superiority doesn't whisper potential, and it roars inevitability. The facade of an open competition is collapsing under the pressure of indisputable production. Let's quantify the shockwave. A staggering 70% completion rate, not marginal, but commanding, leads the quarterback room. 10 touchdown passes, 0 interceptions. In contrast, third-round pick Dillon Gabriel struggles to eclipse 55% accuracy while surrendering 2 costly turnovers. Veterans Joe Flacco and Kenny Pickett have been serviceable, but adequate is no longer acceptable when lined up beside transcendent. This is not a gradual ascension. This is an eruption. Sanders didn't arrive hoping for a shot. He arrived to seize control. And now he's not just seizing, he's dominating. This surpasses numbers. It's igniting a foundational recalibration of the Browns' internal power structure. Assumptions are crumbling. Timelines are accelerating. Projections are obsolete. Behind the scenes, sources confirm Stefanski and staff are convening nightly emergency meetings, overhauling practice structures and redistributing reps. The rookie hasn't just entered the conversation, he's silenced it with execution. What began as skepticism has transformed into stunned admiration. A fifth-round pick walked into Berea trailed by documentary crews, NIL buzz, and social media noise, triggering smirks among vets and cautious messaging from coaches. "Let him develop," they said. "He needs time," they insisted. And then the pads came on. Day 1. Rookie hiccups. Delayed reads, shaky footwork, momentary confusion. By day 3, those stumbles had evolved into crisp execution. His processing accelerated, footwork tightened, ball placement graduated from decent to dazzling. Behind closed doors, coaches admitted their shock. This wasn't seasonal progression, it was a week-long metamorphosis. And the locker room took notice. Receivers, according to insiders, began privately lobbying for more reps with Sanders. Not officially, heck, not yet. But the undercurrent is real. Chemistry is blooming, particularly with Amari Cooper, who reportedly delivered a rare veteran-to-rookie message after a surgical red zone strike. What he said remains private, but observers noted the visible shift in Sanders' confidence and immediate application of feedback. Then there's the offensive line, the gatekeepers of trust. Their evaluation is ruthless. Pocket presence, decisiveness, poise under fire. And by every internal account, they prefer Sanders. Not for Polish, but for his consistency, clarity, and calm when chaos erupts. He diagnoses blitzes like a seasoned vet. He adjusts protections like he's been in the league 5 years. He doesn't flinch, he floats. Let's examine the tape. Day 7, red zone drills. First team defense throws exotic looks to rattle rookies. Snap 1. Sanders identifies a disguised coverage, shifts the protection, hits his tight end in stride for 6. Snap 2. Pressure off the edge, he adjusts, climbs the pocket, delivers a dart between defenders. Snap 3. Post-snap rotation, he escapes the pocket right, maintains vision, finds a crossing route. Touchdown. 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 Precision. Poise. Processing speed that defies his draft slot. And while Shedeur ascends, Gabriel spirals. The Oklahoma product arrived expecting development, mentorship, maybe a shot next year. Instead, he's witnessing a rookie juggernaut unraveling his future in real time. Mechanical breakdowns, hesitation, forcing throws, watching highlight after highlight of Sanders while battling self-doubt and inefficiency. His statistics don't lie, nor do the turnovers. Meanwhile, Flacco and Pickett navigate this evolving storm with professionalism. Flacco in particular has embraced the mentor role, imparting wisdom, film study routines, and pocket management tips. It's a quiet acknowledgement of reality. Greatness is here, and his legacy may be tied to how he helps mold it. Pickett, while reportedly frustrated, remains supportive, though the writing on the wall is legible to all. Now the coaching staff stands at a crossroads. Stick to conventional timelines, or lean into the truth unfolding before them? Because here's the dilemma. The most important principle in football is simple. Play the best player. Offensive coordinator Alex Van Pelt is allegedly pushing for Sanders to receive extended reps with the starting unit. Quarterback coaches urge caution. Stefanski walks the tightrope, balancing protocol with the undeniable. Media validation now mirrors internal conviction. Local beat reporters attending Browns camp describe Shedeur Sanders with language typically reserved for all pros, not rookies. National analysts express astonishment at his statistical supremacy. Former NFL quarterbacks, now commentators, acknowledge what's becoming undeniable. Sanders possesses a rare trifecta: elite physical tools, rapid-fire processing, and cold-blooded composure. ESPN Cleveland's coverage doesn't reveal anything new. It simply affirms what's unfolding daily. Sanders is no longer competing for the job. He's claimed it, emphatically, indisputably, irreversibly. But numbers alone don't explain what's happening. This is as much psychological as it is physical. Sanders arrived under immense pressure. The weight of his father's legacy, the spotlight of viral fame, the scrutiny of skeptics questioning his fifth-round selection. Lesser men unravel. Sanders converts doubt into fuel. Every slight sharpens his preparation. Every whisper about inexperience intensifies his focus. Every skeptical teammate? Now a believer. That mental resilience is the hidden force behind his consistency. The stats tell you he's gifted, but the day in, day out excellence proves he's wired differently. Veterans who once viewed Sanders with suspicion are now rallying around him. Young players watch a rookie earn respect, not demand it. Even defensive personnel, often the toughest to impress, speak openly about the unique challenge he presents. Varying arm angles, unpredictable progressions, subtle pump fakes, and pocket manipulations, typically seen in year 5 quarterbacks, not week 2 rookies. Thank you guys, see you next video.